In 1972, a man called Edward Lorenz presented a paper at a conference in Washington, D.C. The title of the paper was a question: does the flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil cause a tornado in Texas? This question was never answered. This question was never answered, but the butterfly effect has continued to inspire and shape the way I perceive my work. I would like to begin my talk with a question: does hair make a difference? It's been said that life is full of endless struggles, challenges, and frustrations, and then you find a hairdresser that you like. I'd like for you to close your eyes for a moment. Please, close your eyes and just think about hair for a moment. I want you to see how it moves, feel how it moves, see how the color is in sunlight and candlelight. Smell your baby's hair. Remember your mother brushing your hair, and imagine stroking and consoling the one that you love. These reflections and images are locked into your subconscious and stored in memory. They are reflections of love, leadership, spirituality, tradition, fame, and folklore. The keepers and guardians of this phenomena can be responsible either for a traumatic experience, which I'm sure you've all had, or an elated transformation that could change your life forever. Barbers were the initial guardians of this phenomena. They were highly revered in societies around the world before Christ and again in the Middle Ages. Barbers were sought after mostly in early tribes because it was believed that evil could enter the body through the hair. And by cutting, it was the barber that had the responsibility to cut and drive that evil out. Barbers later became surgeons. They were amputating limbs, bloodletting, pulling teeth, as well as shaving and cutting. Barber actually means beard in Latin. I have been fortunate that hair has been a portal for me to travel and to experience different things. I have cut hair in palaces and seedy motels. I've cut hair on the beaches, in jungles, across deserts, in bizarre and sometimes forbidden situations, and strange circumstances. But I survive alone with a pair of magic Japanese scissors and a worn, torn, trusted bristle brush called Mason. I find that hair for me is so exciting to work with that I dance off its energy and buzz with its electricity. You know, lifestyle, hair could actually be a lifestyle. So could it be that advertisements that we've created over the years in Dubai of people laughing and running on the beach with the wind free in their hair have manifested a new culture? A hairdresser has no boundaries, no prejudice, no class, no political or religious views. I have tended to the tresses of princes, priests, and princesses. I have sliced gamblers and hustlers, prostitutes and destitutes, footballers, dancers, I have styled for models, personalities, celebrities, politicians, and heads of state. If I was an artist, I would sculpt hair. If I was an artist, I would use hair as my medium, and I would sculpt monuments inspired by Gaudi. The difference between me and the architect is that I can just brush it out and start again. Inspiration is all around us. It amazes me that I can just simply take a hair into a knot, make a chignon in the nape of the neck, and I can transport you to the romance of flamenco, or the stance of a bullfighter, or a flight attendant from Emirates Airlines, or from the sweep of a fringe or the volume of hair can start a trend or become a signature for a brand identity. Fame. For those of you that want to chase fame, bleach your hair blonde and wear red lipstick, as did our screen sirens Jane Mansfield and Marilyn Monroe. Bleached hair, platinum blonde, we gather around this blonde like moths, and so the legacy continues. Teresa Gilmore was an actress, and it was only when she bleached her hair blonde that Hollywood paid attention. This is a fashion image that I recently have worked on, and I want you to think about how images can date a time. You know, remember your wedding pictures. These photographs are dated, aren't they? You know why they're dated? When you look at the hair, you see your hair or those sideburns and you go, oh yeah, that was back then. There's always that date from the hairstyle. Everything in this photograph is current, but the style was inspired by Tamara Lempinka, who was an artist in the 30s Deco period. It's the hair, isn't it, that takes you to that time. Medical science studies hair for nutritional deficiency or disease. Forensics can trace evidence to incriminate a suspect from the DNA of single strands of hair. Hair mirrors the inner self and is noted by appearance. I used to freelance for the Daily Mail newspaper in London, and it was not unusual for me to get a call with directions to a secret location, whereupon I would be met by someone who would then brief me on the subject because the information was top secret. Such was the case of meeting a woman who was about to come out of prison. She had been sentenced for the murder of her child. The press had had a field day with her because when she was in the courtroom, can you imagine if you were being tried for murdering your child? You wouldn't be looking good in the courtroom, would you? She was stressed, her hair was wild and unruly, she had dark circles under her eyes, and the paparazzi caught her, and as they photographed her, she looked like an evil witch. Not the caring, suffering mother, but an evil witch that had suffocated her baby. Her husband had fought for acquittal, for a retrial, of which she was acquitted. This woman was innocent, but the entire world believed that she was guilty because of that photograph, because of the way that she looked. They were convinced that she was guilty and evil. I was hired to give her a makeover, to change the way that she looked, to smooth out that wild, unruly hair, so that she would regain public approval. That's powerful. February the 22nd, in Dubai, I was styling for a magazine called M. And we were preparing in a room where the television was on. And CNN News was churning over. Now, you remember February the 22nd, it was Gaddafi, the revolution. Gaddafi was screaming and threatening his protesters. And this loop was going around in my head, and I became feverish. And before I knew it, I'd designed a mohawk. It wasn't in the brief. But I couldn't help myself. It triggered the reaction because the mohawk is the symbol of rebellion and revolution. In the 80s, I met Siegfried and Roy, the most celebrated magicians in the world, that made tigers disappear twice a night, 7 days a week. I was hired to go backstage to highlight Siegfried's hair. Now, Roy is the one, this photograph is real. There's no retouching here. I was there, it happened, I saw the trick. He's really floating in midair. So Roy is the dark one, he works in shadow, and Siegfried is the light. So I had to highlight Siegfried's hair, and the brief was, don't say anything. Keep silent. So there I was, highlighting his hair with the bleach and the tail comb, and suddenly Siegfried stood up and told me to go to the toilet and wait there. I felt a bit silly, waiting in the toilet with the bowl of bleach. I heard all this rattling of chains, and then the magician told me to come out. I came out and carried on with the process. Suddenly, I felt the hot breath of a wild animal on the back of my neck and the swipe of a paw, and as I looked in the mirror, there behind me in a gilded cage, which was the shower, was a huge black panther. I never said a word. It was Siegfried and Roy that introduced me to magic and the art of illusion, and how crucial hair is to magic. Think about that one. In 2009, Tony Blair came to Abu Dhabi to do a speech, and I was hired to go and do his hair and makeup. And beforehand, I had sleepless nights. What was I going to say to Tony Blair? I'm English. I didn't know how I would behave, and I thought about all of the things that I wanted to ask him because there was so much doubt. When we met in the green room, he looked like a caricature of himself. He was shy, considerate, and very polite, and when he sat down, his face was here, just a few inches from mine. I could have done anything. Right? I have that power. All we talked, my role just kicked in. No political views. So we talked about his hair and makeup, and Tony likes makeup. He likes a bit of concealer, a bit of bronzer. He's very insecure about the way he looks, as we all are. And the whole of the green room was talking about hair and makeup. How bizarre. It makes a difference. And for the record, Tony Blair is human. The Native American believes that his long hair is sacred. The Rastafarian's dreadlocks are connected to God. A Sikh said, if hair is dead to the body, then how come it knows it's been cut? Just 1 month ago, it was proved that one single lock of hair has linked the Aborigine as being one of the first people, or not one of, but the first people to migrate over 62,000 years ago. That is mind-blowing, one single lock of hair. Is hair sacred? I've been a hairdresser for over 40 years. I've been a hairdresser for over 40 years. And I sometimes wonder, if I could make a path with all the hair that I've cut, how far would it take me? Hair shields you and protects you from intense heat. It prickles to warn you when danger approaches and tingles with emotion. It is my firm belief that we are all connected through the hair waves. And like the butterfly, one single strand can have a huge effect. I'd like to leave you with that question: does hair make a difference? Thank you.